And we are rolling on Gil's cross-examination. We just finished the first question, which was on asking him,
Why 10?
why not 11?
What would you say?
Name?
Miriam?
Mary.
Hi, Miriam.
What would you say to the argument that there's like loopholes and people would end up obtaining more than 10 rounds anyway? Like, how would you prevent people from...
Well,
Circumvention, she's asking, Gil, if I
yes,
can put words
I
in
can.
your
How will you
mouth.
prevent people from getting these larger capacity magazines? We would have to recommend that there's a law against them. They would become illegal. And so people would have to turn them in, and they would be to their local authorities. And there would prohibit the manufacture or import of these magazines.
Mm-hmm. But you know, Gil, I'm just going to add a little
Right.
editorial comment here to keep the discussion going. As Charlton Heston, who was head of the NRA for a while, said, we'll turn in our magazines. You'll have to pry them our cold, dead hands.
Yes, I realize that. In fact, the mass shooter in Sweden received his large capacity magazines by mail order from the United States.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Armand.
Hi, I'm Armand.
Hi, Armand.
So what do you think will deter gun users from this ban on the 10-round magazine? Even though there is potential jail time, someone who has the will to kill will not abide by these laws, obviously, since they are already committing a crime by attempting to murder somebody. So
I mean, there's...
Sorry, allow me to finish.
Okay.
So what's your argument for them abiding by the 10 rounds law?
There's no guarantee that everybody's going to abide by the laws, just like the people who are mentally ill or challenged that might want to buy guns, they'll find a way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a recent shooting in Northern California this week where the individual turned in one gun, but he stole 2 others.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, they locked the school down before he got there and saved a lot of lives. M.
Hi, I'm Emily.
Hi, Emily.
So I've looked into this topic a little, and then some states like New York have limited magazine rounds to 5. So obviously there are benefits to limiting the magazine rounds. So why not shoot for a lower number like what New York is doing?
I think to do this is going to be a monumental thing. There's a lot of pushback in the United States. I mean, we've come to realize that not every state thinks like California, and it's going to probably be a long time and a long battle before people realize there's no need for these large capacity magazines except to hurt people. That's my feeling.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Jared.
Hi, Jared.
So obviously, as you kind of touched on, instituting this type of rule would obviously require a lot of governmental resources in actually enforcing it, particularly when it's laid out. So actually making sure that people were turning in the rounds that exceeded that limit, and then making sure that all store inventories got rid of their limit that exceeded 10 rounds. So I was wondering if you had any suggestions or ideas on how that could effectively be enforced, particularly when it's initially rolled out in kind of that critical moment?
I think that if the government prohibits large capacity magazines and requests that they be turned in, there's obviously going to be a lot of people that keep them. But over the years, this has to be a how can I say, a correction that's going to take years, because what you have to do is phase out all these magazines that have been around for years, and there's virtually millions of them around in the country, so they're not going to go away overnight. So you just make it illegal, and they keep collecting them and destroying them.
Yes, please. Thank you, sir.
Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
So, how do you address the shooters who use smaller capacity magazines? Because the vast majority of gun deaths are not committed with these high capacity magazines.
Well, what this does, it limits the mass shootings that we've had over the years. We've had approximately 87 mass shootings in the last 30 years, and I think approximately 700 people have been killed. So you eliminate a situation like Las Vegas where the gunman was able to shoot 1,000 rounds of ammunition in 10 minutes. That's 100 rounds every minute, and you don't, when you're shooting that many bullets, you can't hide.
Right.
So,
You can't call 911 virtually.
that's right.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Meijing.
Yes.
I'm May Jean.
Hi, do you think like the living like a gun magazine is worth for like the problem today? Because as far as I know, like the young people now, we are into like the media, maybe like the Facebook, like the Twitter, and it's pretty hard to limit. Even we limit the gun magazine, I don't think it's like worth for any like problem today.
Well,
Could you repeat the question?
Okay, sorry, just like the topic is like the limit the gun magazine, but as far as I know, people nowadays we don't really like read the magazines. We are into like the media, like the Facebook.
No, magazines in terms of the clip with the bullets. Yeah, no, not the reading one.
That's what I thought. You were literally translating magazines to mean like Vogue when you read it. It's an understandable mistake. Don't worry about it. Okay. Anybody have any guns on there? Okay. A magazine. It looks like this, and you stick it up in the gun, and bullets go along like that, and they come up. They come up. They go out. It goes out the bottom of a gun. See?
It's called a clip.
It's called a clip. It clips in, and the bolts go along the bottom, and there's a spring on it. Look over here. Look over here. This is a magazine. The spring pushes them up, and he pushed up 1,000 a minute. That's how quick he was. He also had a little wooden help.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention the
Bump stock.
bump stock.
Yeah, that's really going to help. Yeah. Okay, I want to get through this quickly.
Hi, I'm Nahi.
Yes.
Hi, Nahi. Stand up for class.
Do you think
Public
putting
speaking
a
class?
limit on the gun magazines to 10 rounds is a form of like maybe even restriction or kind of like a limit on our constitutional right to bear arms? Like, I mean, even like very trained police officers will take more than just one round to like, target a criminal. And what about, regular people like us who maybe need more than just 10 rounds for self-protection?
Well, that's probably already taken care of. Licensed authorities or sworn police officers have the right to use more firepower. I mean, they can use machine guns now and other weapons. This is to try to take out the ability of individuals to do mass shootings. It's just a device. And it isn't going to stop people from shooting one another, but it limits the damage that can be done by somebody with a gun.
Yeah, let me interrupt, and it's off your question though, but go ahead and sit down. Gil, one criticism I had of your brief was I wanted you to do more arguments from authority and read and list more of, because you had good evidence in there. You quoted the Gifford Center quite often, and the Gifford Center, for example, said that restricting these high-powered magazines, these high-velocity magazines, would not significantly impinge on our right to bear arms,
No,
as the Supreme Court has articulated it currently. So that would have been a better answer, saying most law reviews in the Supreme Court does not think that limiting these, and it held up, by the way, when we did limit it in that 10-year period.
Yes.
So, yes, please.
Hi, my name is Jared.
Hi.
Concerning limiting magazines, what about guns that are like acquired at auctions that don't even use like a magazine? Like they have like, I don't even know what they're called. Like,
Musket.
No, not a musket, like an SAW, where they have like a whole entire line of bullets. Like there's no magazine. It's just like you can just get boxes of it.
Like a machine gun.
Yeah, like a machine gun.
Those guns are illegal right now. This happened in the 1930s when the government, you maybe heard about Al Capone and the Prohibition, and the government outlawed machine guns at that time, and they would consider that a machine gun.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good answer. Go quick.
I'm Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
Do you think people own more than 10 right now? More than 10 rounds?
There are some people that have magazines that hold more than 10 rounds.
So how would you get them to give up theirs?
You pass a law and you say, within 6 months, turn your magazines in. It'll be it isn't going to happen overnight. But the first thing you do is you stop selling it. You can prohibit gun stores from selling magazines, manufacturing magazines, and importing magazines. That's a start. Then eventually people will turn their magazines in. Even today, the LA Police Department have a program where people turn in their guns for Christmas and get a gift certificate.
For a turkey or something.
Right.
Yes, thank you. Yes, please.
My name's John. And then,
Hi, John.
Just real quick, yes or no, did you say that the
Yes or no, Gil?
the
Yes,
large
sir.
capacity magazine, when it was banned, you saw a reduction in crime with the use of large capacity magazines, right?
There was a study.
Yes or no, like
Yes,
so
there
yes,
is.
so
There
the
is a
fact
yes.
shootings conducted with large magazines decreased.
That is
Is there any
correct.
statistics about the number of casualties that decreased, even though the use of large magazines?
Yeah, the number of people that
No.
died went down.
What I can say is during the ban from 1994 to 2004, there was a ban on large capacity magazines and semi-automatic rifles. A study was done by the Washington Post that studied data from the Virginia State Police, and they found out that mass shootings or crime with the use of high-capacity magazines went down.
But did the number of casualties decline?
It didn't specify the number of casualties.
The Senator Feinstein evidence that he read in the above sub-point
Right.
did say they went down. So did you not agree with that evidence? Or?
Right, I skipped that.
Yeah, let me just say one thing since we're on this point. I'm stealing Gil's thunder here, but when we did, and I don't know what happened to your opponent, but when we have had this debate in the past, and that's why Armand shouldn't have been so afraid to debate you, because when we've had this debate in the past, I don't know if in your research you noticed this, but there were some contradictory studies.
Yes.
There's some national studies and other studies. And the class, honestly, when they just threw up their hands and they said, I'm just not sure we're going to get a reduction after, because they were just so confused after hearing 5 studies both ways being thrown at them in the class. So anyway, that was how it went before. You know, Armand, there's contradictory evidence. And there is evidence. I mean, it sounds like, who could be against this? Well, it didn't work, according to a lot of pretty good studies.
Yeah, your professor from MIT, there's no climate change.
Exactly. Okay, go.
I wholeheartedly agree with Dale, and I refuse to argue against him.
Well, you ask him a question. Where did he get his shirt? Brooks Brothers? Carroll and Company. Okay, go ahead, stand up. What, are you just vegging today, or what?
No, I completely agree with him, so I'm finding it really hard to argue against him.
I agree with Bianca, because I think it's really fair of you to set up a real world example where you recognize the fact that this is not going to happen tomorrow, and that you leave room in your case that, look, we will implement this and first start by banning them to be sold at these gun shops, and then we will allow for time to take its course and see where it goes. And it will inherently better our issue.
Okay, Bianca, your gentleman has come to your rescue. Okay.
Well, I just don't.
Haley, I know I can count on you for a question.
Okay, so even banning them being sold in stores would take time to pass that. So a lot of times what happens when there's talk about things being banned is sales actually go up because everyone wants to buy them. The companies want to sell what they have already produced because they want to act in their own best interest, and then everyone will start buying things. That's what was going to happen with the bump stocks. Actually, the bump stocks increased sales.
They sold out
dramatically, with the next day. So, could this actually be more detrimental because then people will be buying them in bulk that wouldn't otherwise have been buying them?
I mean, it's going to happen. How can I say? Whenever you're going to restrict certain items, people are going to go out and buy a large quantity. It's like if Mattel says, I'm going to stop making this Barbie doll, people are going to buy it because they think for some reason. But there are people that would go out and buy a large number of magazines hoping to sell them at a higher price. But you have to start someplace. You can't,
Can I do just a follow-up?
Follow-up question.
Just a follow-up question.
We're almost out of time.
So if people buy them and then want to sell them basically illegally on like a black market, then isn't that worse because there won't be a regulation as to like mental health if someone like should be able to buy them or not?
The problem is there's always going to be a way. If somebody is so, how can I motivate it to acquire a magazine, he's going to find one way or the other. Yeah. But the problem is it eliminates the average Joe who can't go to the gun store and buy one, who's not so knowledgeable that he knows his way around to get some illegal guns or
okay.
No, that's good.
Well, before I thank Gil for being such a good sport, let's thank him now. You folks had some good questions. These circumvention questions, they come up all the time, but they're not they have to be really well documented for us not to try the policy. Gil found it eminently reasonable to try it and at least eliminate the legal number of these gun magazines that are out there being sold in gun shops. Now, sadly, these are two pieces of sheet metal and a spring, and anybody in a machine shop can knock these out pretty easily. We know this. We agree to this, but if you're going to get slapped with a $10, $15, $25, $100,000 fine for having one in your possession, you're going to at least think 7 times, unless you're just out of your head, before you go carrying them out to go hunting to shooting deer with them, or some crazy thing like that. And so it will help. Okay. Are we all set for our next, any other, are we all set for our next meeting? Yes? Okay, good. Okay, our work is done. Return with honor. Oh, we didn't do our, oh yeah, turn in your ballot. Did Gil win?
Yes, you did, my man.
Yes.
Thank you, Gil, for being a good sport.
You don't need 30 rounds to shoot a deer.
I'm going to use a bow and arrow.
Pastor Miller, I have my self-eval and my extra credit.
Self-eval and extra credit, turn it in. Oh yeah, thank you. Oh, by the way, I have an announcement to make. Since I won't see you before Thanksgiving, if anyone doesn't have a family or a place to go for Thanksgiving, you're welcome to come to the Miller home. We have an extra seat there, so you can. So just let me know. Send me an email. You can come to my house, okay? Anybody? Okay. Happy Thanksgiving!
Happy Thanksgiving, November!